Most of the time when Thomas Bernhard is the topic of discussion, the word quickly falls on later works such as Extinction, The Loser or Woodcutters, whereby the latter invite you to read it again due to its entertaining and somewhat funny character, but you should definitely not lose sight of his debut work Frost, whereby that work is not recommended for immediate rereading due to the bleakness and hopelessness which are expressed in the text through the words of the painter Strauss. Frost is a diary novel by a nameless narrator who is commissioned to observe the painter Strauss in the mountain village of Wenk. The narrator doesn't get the chance to say much because after his arrival in Wenk, he meets the painter relatively early on, whereby the painter takes over from this point and casts a spell over both the narrator and us readers. Strauss thus has the typical characteristics that we later find in the first-person narrators in Thomas Bernhard's oeuvre, be it with the constant agony, the misery of existence, the dichotomy between town and country, and the well-known repetitive exaggerations. Although Frost is easier to read for the eyes, since the text is divided by diary entries. But what fascinated me the most were these distant, cold descriptions of the Austrian mountain town of Wenk, because it shows the geographical location of a place can influence the habitus of the population quite well, and one could understand the words of the painter very well. Here in Switzerland too, it is fascinating how there are completely differences in tolerance, openness or narrow-mindedness from community to community, which are only a few kilometers apart, with the valley and the mountain ranges also playing an important role there. This mountain village of Wenk is now a synthesis of mostly negative rural post-war characteristics, whereby the hopelessness of the proletariat also comes to the fore due to the industry in Wenk. Due to the constant contact with the painter Strauss, who also constantly expresses his worldview, the narrator falls more and more into a downward spiral as the novel progresses and the influence of the painter spreads even in the narrator's own thinking. Incidentally, Wenk's Frost gnaws at him as it does with Strauss or us readers. He discovers what is happening back in the tavern, listening to more of the painter's stories, which increasingly slip into the surreal, and he resembles the characteristics of Strauss more and more. The question now arises whether the painter could recover mentally outside of Wenk and whether Wenk isn't dragging all the residents down. Frost is a truly cold novel, and above all the descriptions of the residents and the area around Wenk are among the bleakest that Thomas Bernhard has written. The series mood runs through the almost 350 pages, although it stretches a little towards the end. A cut would have made the whole thing even more compact, but for a debut work it is amazing how many characteristics were presented with the virtuosity even then. The humor and the exaggerations, as in Woodcutters or Old Masters, are rather little to be found in Frost, but that is why Frost is also a very gloomy work full of desperation and hopelessness, which makes it to a very recommended reading if you want to embark on this rather dark path. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and maybe take a look around on the channel and might subscribe to it. So thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.